There are different ways that you can be silent as a new or aspiring politician. And yes, sometimes silence is the best thing to do in a situation. But this time we are at one of the most critical points in history. And this time, your silence is political consent. Let's talk about that today. I'm Dr. Lisa Ann Chung, a political leadership strategist, author of the book Political Change, and president for Kenley College, where we provide leadership training and strategy for new and aspiring politicians. Regardless of where you live in this world, the outcome of the US presidential elections will impact your life directly and indirectly. And so if you have not been paying attention before, pay attention now. There are some who are choosing to be silent with their vote, meaning they have said for this election, not interested in voting because both candidates are severely flawed. I understand your concerns, but since we know you are not perfect either and you have flaws, then the reality that someone who is chosen from among the average citizenry would also be flawed is no real surprise. So let's work from the fact that regardless of who is ever going to ever run for president at any point in history, some way or the other, they're going to be flawed. So you still need to look at what do you have to work with. When you don't vote, you're essentially saying either you're quite happy with the current administration, you think they've done a fantastic job, there's nothing about what they've done that you would want to change, you're staying with them, and you don't think you need to vote to make a difference. Okay, that's one. The second option might be that you're willing to go with the toss-up. You feel both candidates are flawed anyway, so for you, you don't think it's going to make much of a difference. Silence is not speaking about the policies, positions, and records of either candidate. What have they pushed? What have they allowed? What have they facilitated? What have they done? Your silence is political consent. I want you to think of a man who's walked down the street and some robbers and bad men have come in and they have really given this man a beating. They've put him almost to the point of killing him. And you stand by, you see what has happened, and instead of going to help this man, going to his aid, you choose to walk over to the other side and keep moving on. Maybe it's that you don't want to get your hands muddied with politics and all that they've told you. Don't talk politics. How about we look at it as you need to talk politics because we are at the critical point in history and politics is going to be affecting your life. I'm not telling you that you have to go on any campaign trail and start having major political speeches. I'm just saying, this is not the time to be silent. This is the time to publicly use the benefit of your social media platforms to get the word out, to help people ask questions even. What's happening? Open discussions, begin debates. You don't even have to so much force the information down their throats as some people might think you're doing. All you need to do is to begin the discussion and then start to feed information that helps people to become aware of what they may not have been aware of. What impact are the candidates really having? I know that it is such a temptation to share all the negatives of the side that you're not in support of. And you miss out on sharing why people should support the candidate that you believe is the best one for the country at this time. But look at both sides. So yes, you may, like an argumentative essay in English, share some of the negatives or share a lot of the negatives, but balance it in major ways with the positives of your preferred candidate. Let me hear about and see the policies in operation that are affecting people everywhere and every day. And if a candidate tells you that their values have not changed, well, that's good to know. And you want to look at how their policies are aligned or not aligned with their values. And when you see policies are out of sync with values, what do you think is going to happen once they have already secured your vote? Do you think the policy will change? Do you think the values will change? Let's put it like this. The values are going to come out on top, and they will change the policy to align with their values, or they will completely disregard the policy because it is so out of sync with what they value. And if their values have not changed, then we need to go back to the beginning and look at what their values have always been. What have their values spoken about them in the last 7.5 years? Now, I can say 7.5 years because they were both involved politically 7.5 years ago. None of them entered this race as rookies. And why am I emphasizing values so much? Because what an individual values is going to be reflected in how they govern. So for each of these candidates, you want to look at a few things. Do they value your right to free speech? Or have they been pushing social media companies to censor your views on key issues? Do they value your right to choose for yourself and to speak up for your own children? Do they value your right to border and national security? Do they value supporting your nation's people first and your economy first? Or do they show you that they value other nations because they will place more resources in the hands of other nations than they would place in the hands of your citizens? Do either of the two key candidates value the Constitution, your rights contained therein, as well as your constitutional amendment rights? All of them. And do they value life itself, particularly the life of the unborn child? What have they said and done to prove or disprove any of these things? The choice you make at this election period also speaks about what you value. Because whether it's conscious or subconscious, you are choosing the candidate that you believe values what you value most. When you are silent, we don't know what you value. And your silence is saying, I value the status quo and I'm fine with it. I don't want anything to change. I wrote the book Political Change because I truly believe we are at a turning point in history, and I wanted to provide a simple, accessible guide for you to know how to become a principled, purposeful leader in a time of great change. Some say silence is betrayal. You're betraying your future, your children's future, your grandchildren's future, and the nation's future. Principled, purposeful leaders know that now is not the time to stay silent. They know that the stakes are too high, the future is too important to elect people who will promise one thing and deliver something completely different, or promise to do something and do absolutely nothing. Now is the time when vision must lead us forward, and we all have a responsibility to research both candidates thoroughly. Yes, we don't have a lot of time, But you get in, dig deep, and research. Look at the evidence of what both have achieved for the country. Look at Harris's term as vice president and look at Trump's term as president. They are both able to make key decisions for the country. What did each do with that opportunity? What was the outcome of the policies of each administration? Did their policies make us better off or worse off? Did it make us richer or poorer? So I want you to step away from political and media bias. I even want you to step away from celebrity endorsements. And now I want you to evaluate the impact of the policies of both administrations on your life in a 3.5 to 4 year period. What ones were best for you personally? And which ones benefited the nation generally? Then maybe you'll pull out some paper, write them down, and start to say for each of them, how did it benefit you? How did it benefit the nation? And when you look at both lists, which one is coming out top? When you're evaluating both of them for the administrations that they represented, think, which administration took us out of wars and brokered peace deals? And which administration took us into more wars that our children, grandchildren, and probably even great-grandchildren will continue to pay for? If you really opened your eyes, you already know the answers. I won't tell you the answers. But for now, it's your silence that I'm most concerned about. You may be in a position to influence so many people, and you are staying silent when they're looking for someone they know, when they're looking for someone they trust to share how they see what's happening. How can you stay silent at a time like this? People may want your insight. They may want the knowledge and information you have, and you keep it close to your chest. We hear it so much when it comes to third world countries. But I do pray that the USA has peaceful, fair, and just outcomes in this upcoming election. But know this, whatever the outcome is there doesn't just impact the US. It affects us all. And that's why we all have a vested interest in who you choose as the next president of the United States. Well, that's all for today, folks. I look forward to talking to you next time about another political leadership topic. Bye for now.